There we are, the MLB DFS strategy show. It is Thursday, August 20th. We have 58 minutes at this point to get through an 8-game main slate before I turn it over to myself and Laffy for NBA Live Before Lock coming back up at noon. But for right now, got to introduce my co-host, Adam Scherer, a.k.a. Shit My Money. Adam, what's going on, man?
What's up? Excited to talk about baseball and not have to talk about like Torrey Craig or stuff like that today.
Yeah, if people had access to some of our DMs, obviously some of them just shouldn't get out. That would be terrible for us. But like the actual ones where we try to break down a game, yesterday would have looked real bad. Yeah, lots of talk about dudes that were just dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, I did tweet out part of our DM conversation yesterday, but It was not the part you're referring to.
Yeah, wait, did I miss this?
Maybe, I don't know. Greg was tagged in it.
Wait, was it the huge back and forth interaction about Donovan Mitchell's shots?
No, it was just the part about me feeding you information and making you sound smart.
Oh, I did actually miss that part because it was all happening while I was on the show.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there. If they saw the Marc Gasol, Torrey Craig discussion that we had, wouldn't have been great. But luckily for me, Twitter and the YouTube comments let me know just how bad my takes were yesterday. So whatever, it's baseball. They're going to be better now. That's my goal. So as you get here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, notification bell. You guys know the drill. We got to roll through this one pretty quick. I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Yahoo Sports. They are the sponsor of our baseball shows. I'll tell you a little bit more about them after we get started. But for now, we're diving in if that works for you, Adam.
Yep.
It's 11:03. This is only my second coffee, so I'm like 2.5 hours behind my normal caffeine intake.
Yes.
Not great. I've already played 2 separate sports in DFS today. This will make a third. So shout out to golf.
I overslept, so I didn't have time to make coffee. Had to grab soda, which doesn't do nearly the trick that coffee does. So
All righty, let's do it. Pirates and Indians. 2.9 run implied total for the Pirates, 4.6 for the Indians. Trevor Williams going for Pittsburgh, Shane Bieber going for Cleveland. A lot of ownership here for Bieber, 18% on FanDuel, where he's 12K, 34% coming in on DraftKings, where he is 10-6. I think he's the best of the pay-up options, but I don't think he's the best option on DraftKings. Ownership already coming into the guy that I think is the best option. How do you want to manage Bieber?
I want to roster as much of him as I can. I think he's just absolutely phenomenal. He's not that expensive. I mean, you compare him, yesterday you had Cole at 11K, you had DeGrom at 11.8. I think Bieber deserves to be in that range with those guys. And so having him less expensive than both of them at 10-6 in a really good matchup against the Pirates, only a 3 implied run total for Pittsburgh. I just don't think it's going to be very difficult to get Bieber into lineups. And I think he's very clearly one of the best pitchers in the game right now.
Yeah, he's $400 more expensive than Clayton Kershaw. They have the exact same ownership on DraftKings right now. I don't think they are particularly. Yeah, I don't think they're particularly comparable. Like it's not close. It's absolutely Bieber in this case. So if their ownerships are like that, I'd have a much greater chance of being 60-0 than I would being 30-30. On FanDuel, I just want to touch on it quickly just because 12K is a big number. Do you see that as a problem, or are FanDuel hitting salaries low enough that you can just kind of get him anyway?
I haven't looked closely at FanDuel hitting salaries, but I do know how FanDuel typically works, and I'm assuming it's going to be really easy to get to Bieber.
Okay. I have to ask, given the way the ownership is going, because of that 12K price tag, do you prefer Bieber or Lamet at 9,400?
Bieber.
We'll talk. Okay, just checking. And that's ownership agnostic in that point.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I see no reason to get away from Bieber on DraftKings. I don't think the 33% ownership is all that problematic, specifically if Clayton Kershaw is also getting 30% ownership, or your boy is at 21 at 9,500. Man, that guy just can't be 10K.
Great.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. That's old news for this channel.
I don't remember if I won that bet or not.
I think he got there in like his third to last start. I mean,
that's what I remember too.
But I can't remember if that slate was big enough or not.
Right. I remember the first time he got there, it definitely wasn't a big enough slate. I just don't remember if I eventually won it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Let's talk hitting here. Well, let's talk Trevor Williams. Any interest? He's not owned.
Not really. I mean, I think I talked last time he started about I'll be interested in him the next time he faces a right-handed heavy lineup, because he does seem like he's made some improvements and can get more strikeouts against righties now, but it hasn't translated to striking out lefties. He's still only at 18.5% this year, and now you're going to get this Cleveland lineup that's full of switch hitters, full of left-handed hitters. So I'm probably going to just be waiting another start until I can go to Trevor Williams.
Yeah, 5 potential lefties, including 4 out of the gate as switch hitters, probably not going to get you there. Let's talk a little hitting. Lots of ownership coming in on Cleveland right now. Looks like they're the second most owned team on FanDuel. And I don't know, somewhere in like the 3, 4, 5 range on DraftKings. I have them 4th overall. And I really have a lot of interest in this top part of the lineup. Ramirez, Lindor, Santana all look great in the righty-lefty matchup. Lefty power plays up more in Pittsburgh than righty power. Franmil Reyes as a righty certainly has enough power to make park factors not matter. And then if you need to get to Naquin at 3,300 on DK as another lefty bat, kind of low owned, I have no problem getting to Indian stacks. I'd like to attack Trevor Williams.
Yeah, I think they're fine. If they're getting a lot of ownership, I think I would move away. I think Williams is a decent pitcher. He's done a good job of limiting power to lefties in particular this year. Obviously, a small sample, but a 100 expected ISO this year. Going back to last year, 185. So, not great, but still not terrible. I think it's really ownership dependent for me because, I think it is a good spot. Whenever you have, with as much power as hitters have these days and the ball maybe or maybe not being juiced, whenever you have a pitcher that's not getting a lot of strikeouts, I'm interested in stacking against him kind of regardless. But I don't see it as one of those spots where I really don't care where ownership gets to. Like I definitely think that it's an okay spot, but not a great one.
Yeah, to me, it strikes me as a spot where I would likely be neutral on Cleveland. I don't expect to just fly over top of them, but I wouldn't want to avoid that Ramirez, Lindor, Santana core either. So if they're around 15%, these strike me as the guys that I'd be like around 15% on.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Sometimes, like, a lot of guys just have to be owned like the field. There is no stand to take. They look like they're supposed to. Now, yeah. Depending on how big of the field your tournament you're in, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. But
yeah, I mean, in general, the field in most sports now is pretty sharp. So, like, there's no need to look at every slate and just automatically say, "Oh, ownership's here, need to be here." There's a lot of times where it's just like, "Yeah, no, I think the field's got it right."
Yeah, we have them 4th in the top stack odds, and they are 4th in overall ownership. I think they're spot on where they should be. You see the upside in some of their bigger bats. Do you get to, I assume the answer is just a flat no, any interest in Pirates as a hedge?
No. Bieber is just so good.
Yeah, I don't ever need to. You can, if that's the spot you want to go, you're better off just not playing Bieber than playing Pittsburgh bats.
Right.
Like,
have you seen, like, do you know what his strikeout percentage is this year?
36.
42.9.
I thought I was guessing a preposterous number out of the gate anyway.
And for good measure, he's walked less than 5%.
So good, man. So good. Indians will go off on that bullpen again. Yeah, it's certainly possible. If you had to take a Pirates bat, is it Josh Bell?
Pretty much always the answer.
Okay. Favorite bat from the Indians?
Lindor.
Him and Ramirez are so close for me.
Yeah, I just assume shortstop's going to be a weaker position.
That's fair. I'll go Ramirez just because you're going Lindor, but I don't think there's a wrong answer there. Do you have anything else you want to touch on in this Pirates-Indians game?
I do not.
Perfect. Get yourself some Bieber. That's the cliff notes of that one. Twins and Brewers, 4.6 run implied total for Minnesota, 4.4 for the Brew Crew. It's Jose Barrios, Brandon Woodruff. Barrios 7% owned on DraftKings, Woodruff 7% owned on DraftKings. Do you have a preference between the two?
I think it's really close. I think Woodruff's the better DFS pitcher. His strikeout stuff is better than Berrios's, but I think that Berrios clearly has the better matchup against a Brewers team that has a lot of strikeouts in their lineup, whereas the Twins obviously are really good, even with some guys injured. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really close. Not really a strong preference.
Yeah, I have these guys right next to each other. I have Woodruff by a hair, but they have Lamet just sandwiched in between them at a very different level. We'll dig into that a little bit later because ownership starts to matter in that regard.
Yeah.
Or at least what you do with your lineups matters.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as Woodruff and Berrios, like whenever it's kind of close like that for me, the tiebreaker always just goes to the better strikeout pitcher, regardless of matchup, which would be Woodruff.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a little bit cheaper, but again, he has about a 30% strikeout percentage, 29 to 30%. That's obviously really good. It's just obviously a really dangerous spot too.
Yeah. So neither pitcher picking up all that much ownership, so you're not really getting any sort of hedge with taking either side of the game. I have the Brewers third. I have the Twins fifth. If you're picking between these two teams, are you grabbing either one of them as a prime stack candidate?
I'd rather go to the Brewers because I just don't think Berrios is as good a pitcher as Woodruff. His strikeout numbers have just kind of been lower than expected for years now, and this year it hasn't been any different. He's at 21.6%. He's allowed 1.5 home. I'd rather target against Berrios, a guy that doesn't get strikeouts and gives up power, than against Woodruff, a guy that strikes out 29 to 30% of hitters and has an elite ground ball percentage as well.
Yep, we're on the same page. Again, I have the Brewers third. Yelich picking up a ton of ownership, and I don't really mind having him, but the rest of the lineup is 7-8%. Alvacel Garcia projected to get a little bit of love leading off. I think it's easy to sort of get away from that if you need to. So for me, if you can get like a Yelich, Keston Hiura, Justin Smoke, Ryan Braun, insert fifth guy here for DK, that's a spot that I would like to be. We have Milwaukee with the fourth highest top stack odds. We also have them with a fairly high ownership share, but I don't think that's necessarily for the five-man stack. I think Christian Yelich's individual ownership is bringing that up a lot. 24% is a lot, and it's Christian Yelich. So him getting that much ownership, not all that crazy. I think you can mix and match around him and get a pretty unique Brewers stack. Do you go the other way? Because the Twins are getting no ownership. They are quite low in an ownership share. Not the best top stack odds, but they are basically double their ownership share. Is this worth a flyer for Minnesota's power?
You never really have to convince me too hard to get to Minnesota because of how much power they have. But, like I said, Woodruff is just kind of like one of the pitchers I really just hate stacking against because such a high percentage of your at-bats are either strikeouts or ground balls. But, obviously there's just a ton of power in the Minnesota lineup. So whenever they're low owned, it at least deserves consideration.
Yeah, standing out for me, as per usual, Max Kepler in the leadoff spot. I would probably guarantee that I roster that person more than anyone else other than Max Kepler's family if they play DFS. Nobody else stands out as like great value relative to their salary. Cruz looks good. Rosario looks good, but nothing too crazy. All of the true standout bats for me are all in Milwaukee. So I would anticipate getting more Milwaukee, but I like the idea of being over the field on the Twins. It's a fun game. Favorite Twins bat, favorite Brewers bat.
Favorite Twins bat, Rosario, only 4,200. Favorite Brewers bat, obviously, is Yelich, but I would say that a $3,200 smoke's a pretty high upside value.
Yeah, Garcia and Yelich grade out the best just because of that additional chunk of plate appearances, but Smoke looks really good at the 4 spot. 3,200 is just too cheap for him. Guys, Yahoo Sports, the presenting sponsor of our MLB shows, they are back for us. It's the only place you can become a baller, which makes me so happy because I've been trying to become a baller for so long, and now I know how to do it. You've got CSV uploads, you got CSV edits. It's all what you would expect at a DFS site, but you can get yourself $30 in YSRPs. Also, the only place you can get YSRPs. There are no other places where you get Yahoo Sports rewards points. You should be surprised to hear that. Use the promo code Awesemo. Get yourself $30 in YSRPs. You're going to face softer competition. They run a lot of low management or no management fee contests. Those are the best contests you can get in the industry. anytime that you are wiping off a fee out of the gate, it's highly beneficial to you in the long term. Get your money over to Yahoo, play there now, become a baller, get them YSRPs. Promo code Awesemo will get you where you need to be. And shout out to the Maharishi for the super chat. This is for Adam to buy some damned Keurig cups. Thanks for all the hard work, Josh and Adam. Crazy busy times in DFS. So there you go. $5. Buy a couple K-cups.
Thank you.
Do you have a Keurig?
No, I did at one point.
Okay. I feel like a Keurig would be like the ultimate coffee drinking device. Like you sit down to start crunching. It's 5 minutes before lock. You press that same button right next to you, and then it's just ready. There's like a legit coffee shop by my apartment, so I started buying coffee beans and have a grinder and stuff. There you go.
Granted, I haven't been to my apartment in 6 months. But.
I go through stages with wanting to grind my own coffee and make like a good cup of coffee. And then I realize that all I want to do is really drink like 40 ounces of hot liquid before 9 a.m. And I start going right back to bulk.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, the French press comes back out and I'm grinding it and weighing it. And then I feel like a complete asshole.
It does make me feel a little bit better. Like when it's 4 a.m. during football season and I'm hand building my Yahoo lineups and I can just use my coffee grinder that's loud as shit and hopefully wake up my neighbors.
Well, there you go.
Couple of things. One, we skipped the Orioles game. Two, Trevor.
What do you mean we skipped the Orioles game? We've done 2 games.
If you're going in chronological order, we skipped the Orioles game.
Did we?
It's a 7:05, and we just did a 7:10 game.
It's a 7:35 start, but great job pointing out your mistakes.
Okay, 2, Trevor Williams tested positive for COVID. So 1, he's not pitching, and 2, I don't know if that game happens.
How long ago did he test positive?
The tweet that I just saw was like 10 minutes ago.
Okay, cool. That's fine then. I thought you were about to be like, it was 2 days ago, and you're an idiot.
I wasn't correcting you. I was informing you on that one.
Okay. I had no idea. Well, anyway, it probably doesn't matter at all for that game, right? What could they possibly be bringing in?
Right. I think the biggest thing would be keep an eye on if the game plays.
That'll work. But yeah, 7:35 start for the Orioles game, which we will get to in 2 more. And if you'd like, you're welcome to pull up the run sheet.
At one point, it was scheduled for 7, I think.
Sure. Anyway, Mariners and Dodgers. Dodgers 2-run favorites, which is always just an awesome thing to see in baseball when you know that you can get a minus 1.5 run, or you can get the run line for still, minus money. That's tough. 71% chance to win for LA. Yusei Kikuchi going for Seattle. Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers. No ownership going to Kikuchi. I can't imagine that we're going to want to go there, but 5,700 might bring him into play. I just don't know how much you need the salary. We need to talk about Clayton Kershaw being 31% owned on DraftKings.
Seems kind of unnecessary. So if Bieber is pitching, it seems unnecessary. If Bieber is not pitching, then I'm a lot more interested.
Ooh. Unrelated to your Trevor Williams has COVID, Lou Dort now questionable for today.
Yeah, saw that as the show was starting. Almost made a joke about it.
Should have. Would have been better than that Orioles jab. Yeah, I just don't get this Kershaw ownership. Like, even if, I'd rather have Sonny Gray if I didn't know anything else about the slate over Kershaw. I would definitely rather have Sonny Gray if I know that he's got 10% less ownership than Kershaw. What is causing that to happen? Is there just that much money that it's easy to pay up?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there's 8 games on the slate. Hitter pricing has been pretty bad. Even expensive stacks typically have 2 or 3 guys that are just underpriced. So it's been pretty easy to get up to pitching. He's still good. You have a 3 implied run total for Seattle. It's not like Kershaw's striking out 22% of guys or something. He's at 28% for the year.
That's true. I just see it, and it's what we're clearly seeing based on the ownership is that Lamet is in almost everything. And for the most part, he's getting paired with one of Bieber, Kershaw, and Gray. And I'm just so surprised to see so much salary at the top. I figured one of those guys would get pinched, and it doesn't appear to be happening.
Coors is on the early slate, not this slate.
I don't know what you just said.
Coors is on the early slate instead of this slate.
Right. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that I would be getting to Clayton Kershaw. I think that I would end up very heavy on Bieber and Gray.
I agree with that. And Lamet.
Any Kikuchi?
Probably not. I just doubt that I'll need to go down to that price point, especially against the Dodgers. I'm definitely interested in him if and when he ever faces a bad team. It seems like he's just facing the Dodgers and the Astros on repeat. But I don't really see the need to do it against the Dodgers.
All righty. I have the Dodgers as my number 2 stack for today. They are number 1 in the top stack odds. They also have the highest ownership share. So how do you want to manage the Dodgers against Kikuchi?
Not sure I completely agree with that one. He's better this year. I mean, he was bad last year, like without a doubt, terrible last year. But he's throwing like 3 miles an hour harder this season. He's allowing no power so far. 0.05 expected ISO to righties, 0.04 expected ISO to lefties. Like I said, he's throwing 95 miles an hour on his fastball. He has his cutter that he's now throwing to righties that is apparently really good. He didn't even have it last year. So I don't know. I think that obviously the Dodgers are a really good team and they have a really high ceiling, but I don't think it's that good of a spot.
I desperately want this to be true. Shout out to Big Ticket MN in YouTube chat for letting us know that it's team president Travis Williams that has COVID, not Trevor Williams. So you went 0 for 2 during that little breaking news tidbit that you had. I hope
that's completely right. Yeah.
Hey man, why you skipped the Orioles game and the starting pitcher in the first game has COVID. 0 for 2.
So I was confused when I saw a quote saying that he was away from the team and on a path to recovery. I was just like, they weren't going to mention that their starting pitcher was away from the team.
I also never saw that. Like, I didn't see the tweet. It wasn't in any of the MLB columns that I have in TweetDeck. I was just like, man, Adam follows some weird shit.
Well, the first thing I saw was it was like just a RotoWire blurb, and it just said, Travis Williams test positive for COVID, and I just read Trevor Williams test positive for COVID.
This makes me so happy. That's so satisfying. So you're likely to come in low then on the Dodgers. I'm assuming you're going to be a big fan of the Boston Red Sox when we get there.
No.
Also, no. Okay, so you're a big Woj guy. Go Angels, maybe?
I don't know. Just fade bats.
Fade bats. Maybe starting 3 pitchers. Oh man, it's really tough to get away from some of these bats for the Dodgers. Like Justin Turner, AJ Pollock, 13%, 12%. Nothing's getting too crazy here. It's kind of flat. I understand why they're getting the ownership. They don't really, the price is really good. Like they don't have anything that's outside of Mookie Betts, but 6K Mookie Betts leading off it's not like it's wrong. They're affordable. Yeah. I think that's what the problem is here.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're easy to get to. You should be playing them in cash games, I would think. It's just that, I don't know. I think that they're obviously a high upside team. They're just really good. I just don't think that, I think Kikuchi is a different pitcher than last year. And obviously any projections that are worth anything are factoring last year very heavily because they should. But I just think he's different. And so I think that naturally you're going to have an overprojected Dodgers team.
Now Germ6908 coming in saying, no, it's Trevor. CBS Sports News says Trevor Williams. But I don't think that that's true.
It's Travis. Yeah. Well, okay. Bob Nightingale said it's Travis, so it's probably Trevor.
Pirates president 7 minutes ago on ESPN. Pirates president Travis Williams tests positive for COVID-19. Yeah. I don't think he's the starting pitcher.
No.
So this might be like too much chess for this particular spot, but if Eovaldi is 18% owned, is there a scenario where you would rather just have Kikuchi? Or is that just not enough ownership? Or do you just not care?
I think it's just not enough ownership. In large field tournaments, I could see doing that, but I also just think that it seems like you can probably just get out of that pricing range of pitcher.
Is this just another spot where it's better to just, if you don't like the Dodgers all that much, just don't be there? It doesn't necessarily mean Kikuchi is good.
Right. Yeah, like I'm not really, Kikuchi doesn't feel necessary on this slate, I don't think.
Okay, that works for me.
I think like To me, it just seems like a really good chance. And obviously, this is kind of a dumb statement because it's true for all baseball, for all offenses. But it just seems like a good chance where the Dodgers score a few runs. Kikuchi's not very good, but they don't win a slate because Kikuchi's not a gas can.
That's fair. Do you have a favorite Dodgers bat?
Outside of Mookie, AJ Pollock.
Okay. Yeah, Pollock for me on both sites. Mookie at the top for sure. Is there a Mariners bat that you have interest in? I can't imagine the answer is yes.
I mean, if I played one, it would be Austin Nola at catcher or Kyle Lewis. But
okay. Yeah, that's fair. One thing to point out, if Sam Haggerty or Braden Bishop are in the lineup today, they do not have salaries on FanDuel, at least as of right now. Or I'm really bad at searching for them.
Haggerty's the one that broke my Excel sheet yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Rookie mistakes. Orioles and Red Sox, 4.4 runs for the Orioles, 5.1 for the Red Sox. First pitch of this game, by the way, 7:35 p.m. Eastern time. That's a 57% chance to win for Boston. Woj going for the O's. Nate Eovaldi going for Boston. No ownership to Woj, but as I mentioned before, Eovaldi at 18% ownership at 5,900. Is Eovaldi a paydown option for you? Is Woj a paydown option for you against a Red Sox team that isn't really a Red Sox team?
I think they're both in play. Like, I would rather go to Woj than go to Kikuchi in their respective matchups. But again, I just don't really think you need to go there on this slate all that much. It's not like Bieber's 12K on DraftKings. He's 10-6. You can fit him in mats pretty easily. Eovaldi, I think is fine. I do have interest in the Orioles, though, especially if Eovaldi's getting some ownership. You said he's coming in around 18%. It's not like this guy is a great strikeout pitcher. It's not like he's great at limiting power. And the Orioles have more power than people seem to give them credit for. I think that the Orioles are a team I'll probably end up being overweight on, especially because I don't love the offenses at the top.
So we have, this is just incredible. We have the Orioles 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. We need to put the ranks on here. We have them 11th in the top stack odds. They're outpacing their ownership share, but that's not doing a really good job of explaining their ownership share. As of right now, if you just add up the ownership for everybody in the Baltimore Orioles order, it's 48%. 30 of those 48% are going to Chance Sisco in the leadoff spot. No one's rostering the Orioles as a stack based on this information. So I'm with you. This seems like the perfect spot for a hedge stack against some ownership on Eovaldi because the Orioles are just simply not owned. And it doesn't even matter to me if you include Chance Sisco in that stack, even if he is chalky, because the rest of the stack just isn't chalky.
Right. Like the way the Orioles basically are owned every day now. And so I think this can be the case again. Sisco leading off at catcher gets ownership. Santander gets ownership because he's just absolutely destroying baseballs. And then nobody plays the rest of the Orioles.
Yeah. So I have no issue going to the Orioles as a hedge stack. I think it's very, very easy to pick up like 5% Orioles and be very different than the field against Eovaldi. We need to have a conversation about Boston's ownership right now, particularly on FanDuel, where they're getting 20% of the ownership as a whole. Verdugo, 24. Devers, 40. JD Martinez, 35. Bogarts, 28. Moreland, 14. Then it gets normal. These guys are owned out the ass on FanDuel. What do you want to do with the Boston Bats on DK, where they are the second highest top stack odds and third highest in ownership share?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like them more than the Dodgers. I think that like Woj, he has decent strikeout stuff. He does give up a lot of power. And so I like them more than the Dodgers, but it's still, this slate just kind of strikes me as one that's really good for tournaments because I don't think there's no like cores. There's no just absolute terrible pitcher that you don't really see how he doesn't get by. Woj is pretty decent at, striking guys out, giving up 2 home runs and then leaving the game after 5 innings. I think that you shouldn't really be afraid to stay away from any of the highest one stacks on whatever site you're playing on today, I don't think.
This is great. People are freaking out saying like RotoWire, or people are listing Chris Stratton as the starter. This is all because of misreporting from CBS. There is a CBS Fantasy article that says Trevor Williams tests positive for COVID per Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic, talking about how he's scheduled to start. Stephen Nesbitt's quote 26 minutes ago in Twitter is president of the Pirates, Travis Williams, tested positive. They're simply just reading this wrong, posting an article, and now the DFS industry is scooping that up like it's true. It's great. I love it.
Oh, and so also, and I just went back to the RotoWire tweet. It says Trevor Williams.
Oh, okay.
Twice. They RotoWire and RotoWire MLB, Trevor Williams test positive for COVID-19.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that RotoWire and CBS are using the same aggregation.
Yeah, I think most importantly, it just shows that I am capable of reading.
That is also true. Okay, so I think we both agree. Orioles hedge stack looks pretty nice here. Boston stack, be cognizant of the ownership. Do you have a favorite Red Sox bet?
Verdugo is way too cheap here.
Yeah, if I'm on FanDuel, it's certainly Devers at 2,800. He's also 40% owned, so you're building most of your cash lineup out of Boston. If I'm on DK, yeah, 4,400 Verdugo. You know what? Give me Mitch Moreland at 4,800. That's the direction I'm going to go. It's on DK. Yeah, all right. Well, then it looks like RotoWire and CBS are giving the same information to DraftKings. Because it's just simply not the case. The guy that's
DraftKings scraps Trevor Williams as the probable starter.
Hilarious. It's so great.
Williams announced Thursday that he has tested positive for COVID-19. I really don't think he did.
No, he certainly didn't. This is, and just fully, like, the guy that's reporting it first got it fully right. And then It's just this game of telephone ruining it all. The cherry on the top of this entire conversation is going to be at 12:01 when we find out that indeed both Williams have now tested positive.
Right. Yeah.
Or the president of the team was like, yo, man, I don't have coronavirus. Padres and Rangers, this one we're going to have to dig into. 4.9 run implied total for the Pods, 3.6 for the Rangers, 63% chance to win for San Diego. It's Dinelson Lamet going for the San Diego Padres. Kyle Gibson going for the Rangers. No ownership coming out for Gibson. Quite a different story for Lamet. 9,400 on FanDuel, 36% ownership. 8,500 on DraftKings, 53% ownership. His price is just fully wrong. I have him projected as the highest pitcher on the slate right now. It's close with Bieber, and I can dig into it a bit further, but
I think you're high on that one, but
I don't know if I am. I have the aggregate strikeout rate for the Rangers in this game at 26%. I don't think I've ever seen something so high. They've got two guys in the top four that strike out more than 30% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see Lamet projecting higher than Bieber.
I got to pull Alex's stuff up. I just hope that it is. It makes me feel like less of a moron. Either way, he's 8,500 today, and he should be 10-5 given this matchup.
Sure. Yeah, Lamet, I think, is a very, he's owned for a reason, and it makes a ton of sense. He's always had really good strikeout stuff. He missed time with injuries. He, for the season, has struck out 32% of hitters. His walk percentage is at 7%, which is kind of the one thing that's plagued him in the past. Yeah, he's been really good. It's a great matchup. No issues whatsoever with Lamet. I will eat that chalk.
Alex has me by 0.6 of a point. I'll take it. Yeah, eat the chalk. I don't know. I mean, in a cash game, he is without question the first thing you're doing. He goes into your lineup number one before you enter anything else. Is there anything to be scared about against the Rangers?
Joey Gallo.
Yeah, I don't. It's a real difficult one for me to get away from. I don't think that you should. I don't think it matters all that much in pitching when it's this kind of matchup. 9,400 on FanDuel, 36% ownership. That's probably the spot where I'd say that it's getting a little weirder. But with Bieber at 12K, it's just creating such separation. I'll have to look at some props later. Anyway, let's talk about a little bit the hitting. A lot of chalk coming in at the top of the Padres lineup. Trent Grisham at 30% on DK. Tatis at 23%. I assume that you land the same place that I do for Tatis. Not in a DFS aspect, in the 3-0 homer.
Oh, that he should have swung?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
No brainer. What do you want to do with the pods against Kyle Gibson?
Another spot that I think just depends a lot on ownership. I expect you'll get ownership going to Tatis, but as a stack, maybe not quite as much. Gibson, I think, is a pretty decent pitcher, but he's not like infallible. He's not great. And the Padres just have a lot of power in their lineup. So if they're not going to get ownership, they're a team that I like the idea of going to, since again, I'm not really in love with any of the top teams. Right now we have them getting a ton of ownership on DraftKings though.
Yeah, highest ownership share. But again, so much of that is just going to Trent Grisham and Tatis that if you leave one of those guys out of the stack, I think you're going to be okay. You just need to think about it as a whole sometimes. Don't just rely on one number. That's why we have the rest of the data. We have individual hitter projections. We have stuff that is aggregated. You can see it all. This is just a middle of the pack game for me. I have the Padres 7th or 8th, depending on the site. Rangers middle of the pack. The clear star of this is Lamet, and I don't really have any sort of like hot take for it. Give me your favorite Padres bat. Give me your favorite Rangers bat.
Tatis and Gallo.
Is there any interest in actually getting that Rangers stack against the massive ownership of Lamet? Is it so high that it becomes
out so many guys? I mean, I've kind of mentioned it before. Like, you do see some really good DFS players that clearly just go against the field in every single spot. And if you have the bankroll to withstand those swings in huge field tournaments, I don't really doubt that it's profitable. But again, you have to, Brick has done a good video on it. You have to, like, cashing lineups, obviously your goal is to win, but like cashing lineups is important as far as like how much money you need to have to be able to play the tournaments you're playing. So it's kind of all part of like an overall strategy. And I personally don't employ it where I would just be jamming on Texas here. I know some people would. Yeah,
there just has to be an appeal to it. Like, I have the Rangers offense aggregate at 78 weighted runs created plus. Like, they're just not good, too.
Like, if Texas goes off, I would bet a lot of money that Sean John's at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I agree. And if they don't, I'll bet a lot of money that if you sort that in lineup study, he's at the bottom.
Right.
But that'll get paid off once a month with $100,000 and it'll cover it.
Right.
Or most of it. Favorite bat for me on FanDuel is going to be Machado, 3K third baseman. On FanDuel for the Rangers, whole damn team is cheap. 3,500 Gallo at essentially zero ownership works for me. 3 to go, 20 minutes to go for NBA Live Before Lock at 12 o'clock. Myself and Laffy leading up to the 1 p.m. NBA lock. We also have Jason Floyd and Pete the Heat Rogers tonight at 7:30, breaking down this Saturday's UFC card, which is shit. I don't remember who's on the card. There's just so many nowadays. Oh yeah, Frankie Edgar, Pedro Munoz. Fun main event. Frankie Edgar making his bantamweight debut. Cardinals and Reds, 3.7 run implied total for the Cards, 4.3 for the Reds. Adam Wainwright, who I feel is 65 years old, taking on Sonny Gray. The floor is yours here. 10% owned on FanDuel, 21 on DraftKings for Gray. Talk to me a little bit about your boy.
He's really good. He's outside of Cincinnati, which is nice, not pitching in that park. The Cardinals are, a pretty mediocre offense. It's not a great matchup. It's not a bad one. But, another season of Gray striking out a lot of hitters. Comes in with a 37.2% strikeout percentage so far, second on the slate behind Bieber, 2.25 xFIP. I mean, he's been really, really good. Not getting a ton of ownership, which is nice. This is his 6th start of the season. I can't count. Yeah, 6th start of the season. So, the fact that he's just striking us out like this is pretty ridiculous over that stretch. He's thrown at least 100 pitches in each of his last 3 starts, so no concerns there, coming off a 110 pitch outing. I really like Gray, especially if he's not getting much ownership.
Yeah, it's hard not to. A lot of upside here. Generally speaking, don't like taking people against the Cardinals, but this is just not the same Cardinals team we've seen over the past couple of years. The heft of this lineup is slowly deteriorating. And the fact that he's getting less ownership than Clayton Kershaw makes the decision significantly easier. On FanDuel, where Gray is $600 more, do you have a lean between him and Kershaw?
Assuming he's way lower owned, I would like Gray.
It's 10 for Gray, 19 for Kershaw.
Yeah, I like Gray.
Okay.
I mean, and to be clear, like I like Kershaw there too. It's
sure.
Just if you're playing popular hitters, going to Gray is perfectly fine.
All right, we're on the same page there. Cardinals picking up no ownership. Colton Wong at 5% on DK, the highest number. I'm assuming you're not coming anywhere near rostering the Cardinals?
Correct.
Fair enough. Reds I have as my number 5 stack on DraftKings, number 6 on FanDuel. Middle of the pack top stacks. They're dead equal with their ownership share. I mean, these guys aren't picking up any ownership. It's Jesse Winker at 12%, everybody else in single digits. Do you like going to the Reds against Wainwright?
Kind of. They're like a middle of the pack stack, both in my mind and in the top stack tool. Ownership coming in about where it should. But there is power in this lineup with, Castellanos and Suarez, Winker and Votto are both fine. Moustakas has power. You get a nice value bat in Akiyama if you're going with the full stack, or Van Meter. They're both really cheap. Yeah, I think, again, it's one of those teams where on a lot of slates, I wouldn't get to them because normally I like one of the top couple of stacks a lot, and that's not really the case on this one. So they're a team that I could certainly see getting to. Wainwright, typically, not so far this year, but typically has had issues with left-handed power. 201 expected ISO since last year, and you do have some of that in this lineup for Cincy.
If you have a favorite, do you have a favorite bat from the Cardinals, or is that a full no-go?
Full no-go.
Yeah, same for me. It'd be Wong if it's anything, but it's not anything. On the red side, on FanDuel, Suarez is picking up the ownership, 2,700 at third, but give me 3K Joey Votto in the leadoff spot. Getting that potential extra plate appearance is really huge, especially for a guy with on-base skills like Votto. Just need him to go yard. Anybody for you stand out?
Winker at 3,400 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm with you there on DK. He's definitely tops. Let's see, 7.5 under, 8.5 even. I do not hate my projections on Bieber and Lamet. I like it. All right, 2 games to go. 15 minutes. We're pacing this one out perfectly. Feeling good about it. Before we keep going, I want to let you know about a little bit of free content that we have going on today. The NBA lineup builder, free for everybody. So head to awesemo.com to check that out. Our NHL rankings are free for today. And since you're watching this show, this is probably the most important one for you. Our MLB top stacks tool is free today. That's what I've been talking about throughout the show. I've been pulling up top stack odds for DraftKings and FanDuel, their ownership. All of that information can be found free at awesemo.com today. So if you want to get an idea of Alex's top stacks for today, today's the day to do it. You can check it out for free. 2 games to go. Athletics and Diamondbacks, 4.6 run implied total for the A's, 3.9 for the D-backs. Sean Manaea against, I think, just Alex Young. I didn't see a long man after it, or did I miss it?
I haven't seen one.
Okay, perfect. So Sean Manaea, Alex Young, I think it's impossible to play Alex Young in this spot. So do you have any interest in Manaea?
No, not really. Not on this slate. Like, there's enough pitching that I like. Manaea has been pretty disappointing this year. I'm like always excited about him and hasn't lived up to it so far. Giving up not a ton of power, but not really striking guys out either. Overall for the season, he's only struck out 20% of hitters. It's a little bit higher to lefties than to righties, and you're going to get almost an entirely right-handed lineup for Arizona. So not much interest in Manaea.
Okay. Yeah, he just kind of exists today. I see him kind of similarly to Kyle Gibson. I don't really have much interest to either one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison.
I'd rather spend $300 more and get to Woodruff, who's got the same amount of ownership. Clearly, I'd rather spend $400 more and get to Lamet, but that is not a hot take. I think Manaea just sort of gets pinched out here. And then I have the A's either 7th or 9th, depending on which site we're talking about. I have the D-backs 9th or 8th. Are you stacking up either side of this game? I feel like this game is just sort of off the slate for me.
I like the A's.
Okay. Talk to me about it.
They're not getting a lot of ownership. We have them, their aggregate ownership lower than their top stack percentage right now. They have a ton of right-handed power in their lineup, facing a lefty and Young, who went 4 1/3 last start through 63 pitches. So it's not like you're just getting 1 or 2 innings of him. Since last year, he's allowed a 208 expected ISO to righties. He's only struck out 22%. So looking to guys like Laureano, Chapman, Mark Hanna, it is really appealing. Maybe Chris Davis can put the ball in play in this spot. And then Olsen from the left side obviously is still going to be a good play as part of a stack. So I just think the right-handed power at the top and in the middle of this lineup. I forgot to mention Semien at shortstop, but I think they have so much power here that if they're going to go a little bit overlooked, I like getting to them in tournaments.
It's weird. I think that I'm more likely to get to Arizona just given their pricing and sort of lack of ownership, but the most likely scenario for me is just avoiding this park and avoiding this game. I would say that it's probably close. Is Chris Davis, does he have a pulse this year so far?
He's been terrible. Okay. I think he's basically been relegated to a platoon bat now.
Is it just because he's named Chris Davis?
Those guys do not age well.
No, like it's really bad. I mean, these two guys have literally evaporated all of their baseball talent somehow and just happen to share the same name. It's what a world. What a world. Favorite bat in the game?
Chapman. The best value bat is Tim LeCastro if he's leading off, but
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean it's got LeCastro 2,400 on DK, flat minimum on FanDuel. We're talking about two different things on that one. I like the Chapman call, big time power. If I'm taking anybody here, probably I think Christian Walker stands out. 2,800 on FanDuel, 3,500 on DK. Not going to get much love. Got a little bit of pop. Gets the righty-lefty matchup. I'm going to go in that direction. Let's close this one out. We might even be a little early. I'll give Jordan a couple extra minutes to get myself transitioned back over to NBA Live before lock. 4.9 run implied total for the Giants. 4.6 for the Angels. Is that right? Did I type that incorrectly? Is the total 9.5 in this game?
That's what I'm saying.
Whew. That's how you know Suarez isn't very good. If you can get the Giants at home to a 4.9 run implied total. It's Kevin Gausman going for San Francisco. Pour one out for his Braves career. Jose Suarez going for the Angels. These guys are around 10% owned on DraftKings. Are you grabbing any pitching in this game?
I'm interested in Gausman.
Yeah.
Which is yeah, I mean, you can put that on repeat for every show I've ever done.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's teasing again this year that he's actually throwing his splitter to both sides of the plate. He's getting a ton of swings and misses. Just a filthy pitch that if he had figured out how to do this years ago, he would have been a mainstay in the Orioles rotation and probably still be there. But I mean, it's been great so far. If you look at his individual games this year, in his 4 starts, 16.4% swinging strike percentage against the Padres, 17% in Coors Field against the Rockies, 13.8 against the Dodgers, coming off a start with a 17% swinging strike percentage against Oakland. Strikeout percentages in those starts of 42.1, 29.2, 28.6, and 44%. He's 6,500 in San Francisco. The Angels are good. And again, I've said it a few times, I don't think it's necessary to go cheap at pitching on this slate, but I would rather go Gausman than Kikuchi or Eovaldi or Woj.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more upside in Gausman in San Francisco in this spot than those guys, especially with lower ownership. I'm certainly not going to Suarez. Do you have any interest there?
No.
Okay. Same here.
I'm pulling it up to check too, but I think obviously the Angels are a tough team to strike out as a whole, but I think with the lineups they're running out right now, it's more of there's a few really low strikeout percentages than it is that the team doesn't strike out.
So for the Angels, per steamer, Fletcher at 12%, La Stella at 12%, Rendon at 15%, Trout is average, and then Ohtani, Goodwin, Adele, Castro, all high 27 to 31 range, and then Rengifo is average as well.
Yeah, so you're probably not getting the strikeouts from the top part of that order, plus you have to deal with Trout. It's a good lineup, and their best hitters don't strike out, it's not a good matchup, but it is at least worth mentioning that if he can kind of navigate his way through those guys, he can pile them up at the bottom.
Yeah, strikeouts are at the bottom. The problem is the extra plate appearances start coming into Fletcher, La Stella, Trout, and Rendon, the 4 guys that strike out the least, or they're Mike Trout.
Yeah, I'll say the problem is also the guys that strike out the least are the ones that hit the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Favorite Giants bet? What a shitty team.
Austin Slater or Wilmer Flores.
Yeah, Slater's the one that grades out best for me. Longoria actually coming in second. Favorite Angels bat?
Obviously Trout.
yeah, Joe Adele. 4,500 for Trout on FanDuel. He grades out at the top for me. Ohtani for 2,900 on FanDuel. I like. Ownership's already there. So let's sum it all up. Ooh, RotoWire back to saying Trevor Williams has started. Must have cured of coronavirus today too.
Man, it's just crazy how baseball doesn't make you recover at all or get positive or negative tests.
Coronavirus is a hoax, man. He had it and he's already fine. What are we gonna do here? Top stacks for today on DraftKings.
Whoever's not owned, really. Like, I don't love any of these. But I like Baltimore. I like Oakland. I like the Brewers.
Where's your pitching ownership going?
Bieber, Gray, Kershaw, Gossman if I need to go. Oh, Lamet and Gossman.
For me on FanDuel hitting, I have Boston at the top by a mile. That's also where the ownership is. Most likely scenario would be me getting to a lot of Brewers bats, actually, just given the FanDuel ownership. Diamondbacks look a little sneaky as well, fully unowned on FanDuel. If I'm looking for pitching, it's going to be a whole lot of Bieber and a whole lot of Lamet and probably not a ton in between. That's it. 11:53. 7 minutes to spare. 8-game slate up and down. Sometimes it's just easy to get in and out. We got a ton of NBA to do now, too. 4-gamer coming up. Who wins, Magic or Bucks?
Hopefully the Bucks.
Hopefully the Magic.
Not a Bucks fan.
I'm just going to have a lot of Magic. So
okay,
I'm cheering with my wallet and not with my heart.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I want the Bucks to win. Somehow I want the Magic to be successful here in DFS, the Bucks to at least make the finals. I don't think that those two things run hand in hand.
I mean, you just need a competitive game.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. But I also would have said that 2 games ago.
Right.
Or 2 days ago. Should have just watched the NBA Sim tournament that we did where the Magic missed a full court buzzer beater to beat the Bucks. It was so close. So close. Let's get out of here. Guys, thank you for joining us. Please hit that thumbs up as you leave. We really appreciate having you guys. We'll have a Live Before Lock show coming up later tonight at 6 p.m. NBA Live Before Lock coming up in 6 minutes. I'm not going anywhere. I will be joined by Laffy, so we should have fun arguing. Jordan, turn that music up. Best of luck, everybody. We're out.